Welcome everybody to tonight's INE gathering. My name is LEW Jensen, and this is the weekly getting together session of the INE network. We formed this gathering in 1983 and have been going down the road together as creative, artistic people helping each other start a really great hobby, take it from 7 steps from an amateur to the master of something, and then teach and learn how to market and share your work and your life from then on. Welcome to all of you in the film strip. As usual, we have a full house again. We always do, but it's a lot of people more and more jumping over on YouTube and on my Google Plus account to kind of mix with this and begin to learn more about the business side of a small business. The big difference that I've spotted in my own career in the early 80s was going from things that people need as a general dentist to things that people want as an artist was just the worst transition of my life. It was 8 years from beginning to where I felt like I was beginning to be successful. And that period of time is quite a struggle. And so out of this process of all these years of working and mixing together, what I think is the very best thing that's ever happened is the mixing of us as relationships. We're all here tonight as friends. These are pals of mine that we've been down a long road together in most cases, and that mixture of supporting each other, of inspiring and encouraging each other to continue to do better and better with our efforts at marketing and personal exposure has been just enhanced like crazy with Google Plus. We've been doing Hangouts in a webinar format for 8 years. This is our 8th season on the web with one platform after another. But finally, when Google Plus has come along, now we have a real weapon. We've got something that is really expanding the exposure for every one of us. I'd like to start tonight and have each of you from Ed on the left on down, each of you open your mic and tell your name and what state you're from and how long you've been a part of the network. Can we do that?
My name is Ed Abels. I'm from Casa Grande, Arizona. I've been on the Hangouts now for probably about 6, 7 years, but I'm an amateur as far as engraver or wood carver or whatever. So I'm just learning the business.
just getting going with the business side of it. Good to have you here tonight, Ed.
Thank you so much, sir.
Jay?
Hey, jumped on me there. I'm Jay Richardson. I'm from Western Oklahoma, and I've been a member, I guess, of the INE network for 3 years now.
Bingo. Having any fun, Jay?
Nah, not at all. No, I have fun all the time with
it. Nothing but fun.
That's it.
Congratulations on the VA stuff this week. That's just got to be exciting as hell for you. I'm proud of you.
Oh, yeah. Hey. Just see where it goes to from here.
Yeah. Joni Beck. Turn your mic on there.
Okay, I got it. My name is Joni Beck. I'm from Florida, and I've been associated with this whole thing from the 80s.
Yes, she has. You have seniority, my dear. You really do. It's been really great to grow together, hasn't it, Joni? We've had a good time.
Yep, sure have.
Thank you very much, dear. Lance?
My name's Lance Larson. I am in Arizona, and I have been involved with the INE network for, I think, 6 or 7 years now.
Good.
And been involved with all the different formats we've worked through.
Yeah, it's been great to watch your progress, Lance. You're really climbing the mountain of success now. It just is so fun. I went through Lance's business plan this week, and finally he's getting to where it's beginning to dawn on him that a little bit of planning does quite a bit for the success of a business, doesn't it, Lance?
It sure does. Gives you a direction.
It's
not
hard
to shoot a shotgun. It's a rifle, not a shotgun, then.
Yeah, and tonight's going to help with that even more. Thanks, Lance. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
I don't know whether I'd introduce this next guy or not, because you never quite know what's going to come out of his mouth. But I've known him for so long. He knows too much about me, which is the real problem in life. Mel joins. Would you introduce yourself to?
Hi, I'm Mel Joins. I'm from North Carolina, and I've been playing with the INE network and engraving and carving since 1992.
Good. Long time. Welcome, my old friend. Great to have you here. Mike?
Hello, my name is Mike Radoff. I am from Rockland, California. That used to be the summer home of the San Francisco 49ers. I've been an INA Network member for about 4 years.
Good boy. Good to have you here tonight, Michael. Good to have you here. Nicholas?
My name's Nick Polaschuk. I've been an INE member since 1995.
Good long time.
So not quite as long as Mel and nowhere close to Joni, but a few years.
Long time. Good to have you here tonight. Appreciate you coming on here. Birthday night. We want to all congratulate Nick on his birthday today. I think. Is that?
Yeah.
Now it's a little questionable, isn't it, from here on out? Good to have you here tonight, Nick. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ron S.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are. Yeah, you're live.
Okay, well that worked. I'm Ron Schneeberger, and I'm in Jupiter, Florida. And gee, when did I start the INE network? Early 2000 or something like that? 2000 something?
Probably. So, about that.
Yeah,
it's not been dull, has it, Mel?
No, I'm Ron.
Yeah,
I'm the good-looking guy.
You're the good-looking guy.
No, it hasn't been dull at all. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have a good time. Welcome tonight, Ron. Appreciate you coming. Sonia, you're up, lady. Open your mic, Sonia. There you go.
Can you hear me? Hi, yep. My name is Sonia Patterson, and I'm from Canada. And I've bought my machine, I think it was 2009, 2010, and I've been playing with the INE network since then. So learning lots from the group and having a great time. So it's been great.
Appreciate you coming, Sonia. Appreciate your participation tonight. Okay, gang, let's roll. Let me open up the screen share and we'll get to the slides. This is kind of the next two sessions are pretty critical for what I'm trying to present as a concept. And you got Don't Let Yesterday slide up now. Everybody can see what we're doing here. I think it's really significant that when we try and take on our lives and look for opportunity, the real trick is when you see it. Am I not? Okay, thanks, Mel.
Yeah, you're getting there.
No, I'm there. Okay, I don't know what I did different. Okay?
You got it.
All right. Bingo. Thank you. To me, opportunity is so plentiful, and it comes at unusual moments usually for all of us. But a person has to not only see the opportunity, they have to begin to shift the gears in their life in order to take advantage of it. And I doubt there's an eggshell ever affected any human being ever more than me. From one little idea to the next, all I've done is pursue it now for 38 straight years, and it's rewarded me beyond reason. And I'm trying to present that same concept to each of you with the idea that an inspiration and encouragement circle is one really smart way to take on the marketplace. It's extremely difficult to go after Success Mountain on your own. But once you find a group of people that do an awful lot like what you do or the mountain you want to climb, then the opportunity gets a little bit easier to take advantage of. I've watched Nick for a number of years. I've done lots of shows and events, and I got to meet Nick personally the very first time we sat down together. I will never forget, Nick, our time together then, and how significant it has been for your influence in my life and hopefully a little bit in return. Your work is astounding. You are truly a master in the I&E network and have done such a good job with the general progress of your life and your directions. But how many of you would dare go try and find or meet a client or patron? I've still got somebody. Oh, there it goes. Now somebody's mic's closed. But when you have the chance to meet somebody well off, would you take that opportunity, or would you even lean in that direction? I got to spend the afternoon and evening with my patron and friend Jack Solomon, and Jack's collection is in his home. He lives with his $40 million worth of artwork, and to be able to spend time with him and sit at this desk and listen to him give me counsel for at least 30 of the last years from someone who's done really well in the economy, that's who I want to listen to. It doesn't make much sense to get the opinion of people that have not climbed any mountain of success. That's the worst thing you can deal with, is a mixed opinion from someone who's not actually done it. Jack has the largest collection of brilliant cut and engraved crystal in the world. I don't think anyone else has this. About $12 million worth of cut and engraved glass in his life. That's just staggering. And finally, he's allowing me to film it and getting it ready to present it to the world. He's never wanted it on the world stage, but at 84 now, he's got to make some decisions, and we're trying to find a home now for this elegant collection. And I am probably going to get to kind of curate it from now on to keep it intact. I still have someone's mic open. Can you look at your mics and make sure your mics are closed for the rest of the show, guys? What do you think the biggest roadblock might be between you and a wealthy person, a wealthy patron? And are you curious enough about changing it? When we talked about these subjects last week, there still were things that each of you could have done or should have done, but most likely you didn't do anything from last week to this week. And that's not wise. There should be a little bit of curiosity in you to basically realize that if you had one wealthy patron of your work, then the job of going out and finding new business and new opportunities is over. It really is the oil well in the whole art marketing community. And everyone from Da Vinci on down who knew that there was a wealthy Medici family that would sustain his life to a very high degree. Yeah, you can't kid me that he didn't know and understand that. For Janie White to develop her studio and go after this direction, she's a retired truck driver, and she found these same kinds of opportunities, lives the lifestyle, has a beautiful cabin home to live in, and gets to play with her life now. That's what you're after. And when you can see that someone else can do it, I think there's the possibility for everyone to do it. It's just not easy to figure it out, much less to be able to take that path. So that's why we're doing these upscale courses, this side of trying to find and target better your more affluent customer, and then beginning to learn and develop the trading sequence is what we'll go into next week aggressively. The trick is to turn something out of nothing. In the marketplace, everything out there is a perception of value. There is no real value to anything, and it takes consumers never figure it out. It takes a long time for some producers to figure it out, but we're in charge of making things have a certain degree of value. This is back in the days when I had normal colored hair, and I just was a young practicing dentist, and I'd come up with the idea of the straight high-speed handpiece, the power pen, paragraver, and we launched it. Jim Griffiths is my partner here, helped us. We get the company started in 1983, September of 1983. And our first adventure was to go to California and do car shows. We would take the equipment and go right to a car show and start engraving car windows. And oh my God, did we create a stir. And when you see others, what others have done, and realize that there are ways to go and ways not to go. Robin is an extremely accomplished artist, taught art, taken the collegiate level courses, everything. And yet finding a way to go with her talent. She got to a point where she couldn't paint anymore. They just said you cannot do that, the large-scale murals. You've got to find some other way to go. And this last few years has just changed the course of Robin and Craig's life. It's just really fun to watch what's happened. I think it's the most profound idea that everybody in hell can spot an opportunity after it's passed them by. Everybody knows after the fact. I kill every dentist when they suddenly dawns on them that they had that right angle high-speed drill in their hands for their entire career, and not one of them ever thought of making the drill into a pen, into a straight design. And guess where all the money is? And it just upsets them no end. It's just really have a lot of fun with it, because they should have seen it, but they didn't. I often refer people to Oriah Mountain. Oriah is the writer of The Invitation Poem. It's incredibly famous now. And when her book came out, I was in Vancouver on vacation, and I found the book at the bookstore and just ran home to the hotel to read it. I just devour her work. I like how she says things. And right in the beginning, she says, a lot of people have asked me how I've succeeded. And she says, I've thought a lot about it, and all I ever did was pick up a thread of interest and never let go. And that has become my drum that I beat from ever since. If you stick to the things that interest you, the things that are kind of the core of who you are and what makes you tick, you'll really do much, much, much better in the long run than if you just run over and say, well, I'm going to start doing that because it sounds like it's going to make some money. I preach and try and teach people to watch for and listen for the zingers. Those little thoughts, those little things that light up your heart and soul. Every time it crosses your path, you go, oh, God, I've got to do that. Oh, it won't leave you alone. And I keep thinking, what if those signals are coming from all eternity, trying to get you to figure out which way you should go? As we start tonight, I want to share with you a very personal moment. It's a hard one for me. I lost my daughter several years ago and passed away early, and it just has been easily the worst thing I've ever gone through. But there was a moment that was really amazing before she left. And in that process, there was a guy that wrote a book that Hallmark picked up and did as a movie. It's one of the Hallmark movies. And my daughter worked at the convenience store for a while. And she called me one day and she says, Daddy, she says, I met this neat, cool author. He really was so good to me, and every time he would come in to get his gas or go to the convenience store, he'd say hello to her and particularly encourage her writing, because that's what she wanted to do and wanted to become a writer. Then 2 days later, I got this email from this guy. And J.M. Pratt is the writer of The Last Valentine. So it came, he was sending it out to me out of the blue. He got to me with my email and was talking about the new release of the movie, and I had just seen the movie. Then all of a sudden I discovered that his lifting of my daughter's spirits, he will never know what he did for Tara at that particular time. Just was the most amazing thing I've ever had happen to me. And then I discovered he lived only 6 blocks away. I have never in my life have I had something like this happen that was so significant and so unlikely, and yet, bam, there it was right in my life. Now, when these kinds of things come along, if that doesn't hit you as a zinger or something really strange, it's amazing. We watch things happen on Google Plus, and you'll start thinking about a certain concept, and then there'll be about 10 or 12 things just pop, pop, pop that reinforce that concept that would not have normally been there. But you're thinking about it, you're looking at it, you're paying attention to it. I journal every concept, every idea, every problem, everything I'm working on goes to a separate page in my journals. And then I start wondering, what happens if everything really does happen for a reason? What if we're just nothing more? I mean, you've got the option. You can just misunderstand everything and just be horribly frustrated. But you can also take the other course and say, you know what? I'm going to learn to do this. I'm going to learn to play on Google+, on the social networks. I'm going to get better and participate more and more with it until I figure it out, okay? Because the truth is you only need one of these people, 10% of the population, it's now 6.5 million, super well-off people who you start doing thank yous for. Now the trick is the art's in the details that separate an amateur from a master. What you think separates a business success from a non-success. The more you can be unique, the more you can think unique, the more you will work uniquely, and the results will then be unique. Okay? And what I do is I watch for things that are working in the marketplace. And then I start thinking in terms of, look at how this setting is reversed. Okay, instead of it setting the other way, they've reversed the setting and put the base into the crown. And when you see something like that, I don't have any particular use for it now, but man, I like watching that kind of stuff. I've also done, I don't know how many monograms in my career. My wealthy patron, Jacob, likes his monogram, his names, his initials on everything. And I love doing that. But you got to kind of notice how to do it a little differently than what you would maybe think. The last initial, the Solomon, always goes in the middle. Okay? That's how you do an appropriate monogram. When you find somebody's life who's done well and is doing well, then I think that begins to be a pattern. Marilyn's been a master in the network for a number of years now. And I love bragging about her. She just does such incredible things and has just been here, first place, special award constantly in her life. We did a couple of pieces for President Bush and Senator Hatch and presented them to Senator Hatch to take to the White House. And when you get to see Marilyn's work, it doesn't take you very damn long to realize just how good this woman really is. She is an extremely talented individual. But every time she comes in with new kinds of concepts, new ways, look how little is actually dished out here. You see that difference? And then added this here. These are just scored lines, but these are then carved lines. So when you see things like that and you start realizing this little additional thing came from a mistake one time, and Marilyn began to think about, what can I do with this piece that's left over? And then she began to realize if she replicated some of the pattern and dropped it onto the base as a presentation mechanism, it would work really well. Then she shoved it even further and started putting her reliefs, separate carved leaves, on even further. And I'm thinking of how you do things is what I think begins to develop your style. You start seeing that this could be carved more in relief, and then putting these as the furthest up perspective, and then having everything drop back in perspective is just a huge, huge issue. Most people simply will not do the work part. But I want to show you what Marilyn has done, okay? The 11th Annual International Gourd Contest, June 23rd and 24th, Bees, Butterflies and Leaves Gourd was featured on the festival program. She has done everything you can think of. She's been to the Welborn show, she's been to Durango Arts, she's done the Gourd Fiber Art Show, Utah State Fair, Country Guild Ice House, everything you can imagine. She has involved herself in to help build her client base. And as she's done each of these efforts, take just the concept of cutting and carving enough to get ready. And then she takes on those individual shows and does the work part. Da Vinci had it right. He said if they knew how hard to mastery, the world would not think it's so great. And so if you're not willing to work, then yeah, I can't promise you anything. But if you're willing to work, you can move your life from amateur to the master of something. And it really helps to know what you're targeting, what you're shooting at. When you don't see creativity with new eyes, I don't know how in the hell to help you. And you don't realize how stunning this photograph really is and what it took to catch that photograph. Can you imagine the patience? Because this was not an accident, folks. This was contrived, this was created, this was put into place. But it was the new eyes that saw the potential of the sun being there and the curl being here that made it work. The one thing that's helped me most and grow my own relationships with my upscale clients and patrons has been regularly getting something published. I tell you this, tell you this, tell you this, and try and help you see how damn powerful it is to have something published about you. If you can't afford to buy your way in front of the higher end crowd, the upscale economy, then you've got to rainmake it, which means we go out in the parking lot and dance until it starts to rain. A little more challenging, would you say? Except most artists can't afford it. If you're going to make it rain, it's extremely expensive. If you're going to go out and dance till it rains, then that's a whole nother process, all right? What I want you to do is come up with an idea, make a rough out of a plan, and then chew on it for a while, get some experienced counsel of what might work, and then for hell's sakes, give it a try. It's not too bad if you'll just make the plan a little bit ahead of time. It's any fool can get an airplane in the air. It's coming down. That's a little tricky. I have preached for 35 years now. The idea of running the business more, the passion more like a business has been right in my life from the beginning. I needed my hobby-based business to outproduce dentistry, and I made that the goal. If I couldn't make my business do more than dentistry, produce more than dentistry, then I was not going to be able to quit. And it took me 3 years. When I really put in gear, my hobby-based business went flying by, my dental income like crazy, and I never looked back. And once you begin to realize there's something here for you that has that really high-end potential, if you go fishing for the different client. You just can't trade things that you make that people want with the average or the bottom half of the economy. They don't have the money. And yet you spend all your time marketing to everyone when you really should be just targeting your efforts for those who do like what you have. I think the question you should be having is do I really know what I'm sharing with you here? And I guess when we've done through the five stages of counsel, you're the one that has to decide that. But I have done the work part, okay? I don't think anyone's read more and tried more. I've done 1,000 events in my 30 years. And when you begin to realize that what you're doing in that work effort you make is what will put you into this extraordinary category, this level of uniqueness that's just unbelievable. When you get a page in any major national magazine, one page of editorial exposure is worth about $20,000 a page. So if you don't have the $80,000 to pay for that ad, and you can get it for free, is that worth going after? And so when you start to see what it takes for inside front cover placement in Cosmopolitan magazine, probably 3 million upscale viewers, folks, who reads Cosmopolitan, you have to begin to realize that, yeah, it really is worth it, all right? And when you can kind of look in that direction and realize that what you're after here is opportunity cost, is what does it take to pull it off? And there's always a cost. There's never for free. So nothing you can do will get you in front of the upscale patron easier and faster and with more effect than getting an article done about you in a major national magazine. And if you've got the internet and social media up, then all that does is just pound the hell out of the drum, okay? Wave the flag even more in front of that customer. Then if you got a decent website for them to go look at. It did, when we first started, this has all happened in the last 15 years. We didn't need a website in those days. You had to grab a relationship, develop enough to get contact information, and then grow that relationship as carefully as you could till it began to produce. But now, everyone goes right from the article, right from the web to check out your website. You've got to have a presence on the web, or you're just absolutely no artist at all. Most all of you on the show tonight know the Craig Hone story. This young man's dad was our first master, Keith Hone, years and years ago. Craig, this was his first major art piece, was an 8-inch thick carved solid black walnut front door for a $4 million home. And for Craig and the family to get a five-page story about each of them in the family in Desert Alpine, 40,000 copies of this magazine went out to the major resorts of Sun Valley, Sedona, and Park City, I think Jackson Hole, Aspen, and Sedona. Did I say Sedona? I think so. So the Midwest slice of the pie, 40,000 copies went out and told the story of the Hone family. And all of them have marketed together for the entire time we've been a network. But this kind of free exposure is just unbelievable. That's 80,000 a page, folks. Think of that. Think how significant that really is. When I finally came up with the Forever Letter, because of the mixture with that author and my daughter Tara, and I got it started and pushed it on in the marketplace, the first major exposure was in Bon Appetit magazine. 4 million upscale readers see this magazine every month. They shot the picture for me, put in all the information here, contact information and prices. $150 for each of my hand-engraved crystal vases, and $250 if they wanted it done in calligraphy. And here's how to get a hold of Dr. Lew. Now that one page would have cost me 80 grand, 84,000 to be exact, and I got it for free, troops. And I'm pretty good at doing that. This was my walking stick I carved for Steven Spielberg, was on the national press the morning of the National Jamboree, 10-inch square photograph on the cover of the national newspapers. Dan Ledbetter did the article in Volkswagen Trends and was a kind of a funny angle, but demonstrated the fact that I'd rather engrave car windows than I would do root canals. And when you begin to realize what how powerful that tactic is in your life, don't say yourself tonight you can't learn. Make yourself a promise you're going to learn how to thread this needle, so that you can begin to figure out how does this work, right? And to get exposure this way, you can either sit around and wait, or you can go after the blessing. And obviously, which way ought you to go? This is a what you ought to do moment, King. Okay. The editor of that magazine and every mouthpiece magazine for any of the resort areas in the country have a really good finger on the pulse of that particular slice of the economic pie. And I want you to stick close to pick out where you live right here on the map, and stick really close to your home now. Don't try, if you're in Mel in the Carolinas, don't try and knock on the doors of Aspen yet. Later, yeah, but not your first one. The hardest to get is the first major story published about you. So if you're in the Scottsdale area, is there any question, Lance Larson, of the affluence of Scottsdale, Arizona?
Definitely not. Scottsdale is the place. Scottsdale and Carefree are just kind of together. Those two are they're the zip codes that have the high dollars.
Yep. Jack's daughter Diana lives in Scottsdale, and she has this low-life apartment that's $800,000. That's just her place to land once in a while, and that's low end for Scottsdale. So you say, all right, that I know that there's something to this exposure tool, that goes right at that same kind of an individual. If the magazine weren't working for the advertisers and the people in it, then the magazine would die. So that segment of the economy feed on upscale magazines. They do. So you've got to be able to increase the odds that you'll get there. This is the rainmaking part, okay? And you got to remember who runs that magazine, who keeps that pulse of that magazine working with the readers and the advertisers. It's always the editor, okay? Is it a computer, a robot, or a cartoon thing? No, it's a real living human being, right? Kristen is the head and editor of the Park City magazine, and her signature is right there, and I just happen to be able to use her signature to say things. I like to read monthly what she writes. What does she talk about in her editorial? They always give them one page, okay, $80,000 worth of exposure, and they write what's on their mind. But I can find really neat things in here that I could put on a piece of crystal or carve on a piece of stone or do just about anything and put her name on it and then send it to her. Don't ask for any favors. Just try and come through the door in the back doorway, okay? Watch for things that are in the magazine. There was an article in this particular issue that's called Blown Away, but look who wrote the text, all right? So automatically she's published in Park City magazine, and she knows this case or she wouldn't have gotten published. So automatically I've got two names now that I can approach to have something done for me. These are really sharp, smart, consistent, predictable, productive as hell, aggressive people that are fussy as hell about details. They have a ton of responsibility. They're paid ungodly amounts of money, but their expectations are off the chart and very, very measurable, however. They can run, but they can't hide. They're out in front of the magazine constantly. If they don't have their finger on the pulse of that magazine, that's the end of that editor in a hurry. It's one of the hottest run marketing mechanisms in the world. This is a job with no margin of error and very little room to goof off. So you can't screw around with an editor. You have to really approach this carefully. Now, I'm going to try and help you sense just how careful I'm talking about. I just heard of the release of a new air laser that will sniff out bad things. It can detect 1/1000th of a molecule. Think of that. When I read this the first time, I don't know if I've had anything that realized how flippin' far we're going with all of these concepts and techniques that are out there. But the really one unmeasurable thing is human emotions. How predictable is that editor, and how closely are you matched to the thinking of that editor? If you'll really realize in the fact that you've got a lot to learn, and the more you learn and study, the better you will do at this same kind of a deal. There's a test on the web that you can take that will actually give you a little bit of a measurement of how effective are your individual emotions. An emotional assessment is a pretty good idea because it mixes you better with individuals and kind of puts you on the same plane. How many emotions do we have? There's quite a few of them. But these are the dominant ones here. Those are really strong concepts in being a human being. But look at the size of all of these are all human emotions. And to not know about them and not pay attention to what's going on, this is the domain of an editor. This is what is in the content of every upscale magazine you've ever read in your life. They spend their time playing on emotions. And if you don't sense that there's a little bit of complication to this and try and do it more by design rather than by accident, you're really, really going to struggle. I have a concept that I teach in my apprentice program where I try and help people figure out that until you make it rain, at a certain point, having an umbrella to protect you is a really, really, really good idea. Can you tell that there's one missing emotion on that list? And it's the greatest one in the marketplace. Curiosity. I left it out on purpose. Yeah. In marketing, there is nothing stronger than curiosity. Nothing. Human beings just freaking cannot resist, and most animals. Curiosity. And so if you can light the fire of a relationship, the curious of who you are and what it is that you do, that's the stuff they like to fill those magazines up with. And you just remember, okay, I got to play with that perspective in mind. And I've got to try and look at how can I manage the entire side of human nature. Okay, can I study human nature and can I figure it out a little bit better? It will help you manage your own, but it'll sure help you as you begin to fish with others. If you can figure out what's going on the other person's side of the equation with the emotions, then you match that, you're going to do a whole lot better than if all you do is just pay attention to your own. What it do? Dynamic relationships. It really should be what is their motivation and what's going on in their world, not so much on yours. What turns their motor and how does that make things actually work? Why do people do what they do and what is their primary motivation? My two main coaches and mentors have been Jack Solomon and Woody Searle. And about 90% of our conversations have constantly been, what makes a person tick? What is the ultimate motivation, especially for capable, productive people? I'm not trying to approach an amateur here. I'm trying to approach someone who's extremely successful at what they do. And your care of that will be how well you'll do. If you misjudge their motivation, you will never, ever get published. They're pros at what they do, and if you try and fake it in your approach to them, I think you're going to get your head handed to you. So what I do is I watch that magazine constantly, and I try and have my own sense that this has succeeded in Park City extremely well because it caters to the upper crust of society. Do you think you could get to know her if you tried? Or is she unapproachable? If you start watching the things in that magazine that are produced, you'll begin to see that she wrote this article that's in there. And this is her thoughts and her feelings. It really is easy to kind of see. Right in here, she says she was talking about the Sundance Film Festival. She says, I got to do this every day for a week or more. The parties, the lunches added to the boot. Living here in town, having responsibilities of job, children, husband, dog. Yes, probably in that order. Doesn't allow complete immersion in the grainy world of film. But it doesn't take too long to begin to realize what she's like and what makes her tick and what can she maybe, how can I approach her? Especially when you're trying to use your own curiosity to feed hers, okay? There's no question that February in Park City is the month. It is the month to go fishing because of the Sundance Film Festival. And the more she has to do probably is making things a little tight for her up around February. So right after February, well, maybe a little less difficult pace, okay? And if you'll just start looking for what happens here out of all this that comes in the door to get published, why do they pick this one? What are the options? And there's only two ways to get published in any major magazine. Only two ways. It's either a writer of their choice is going to write it or one that's produced by you. And when I first started, everyone said, well, you can't write your own articles. And you know what? You sure as hell can. And if you'll spend the time and get good at it or get some help with composing the article that you want to be inserted, I've had at least half of mine have been put in almost word for word because they need something to fill in the magazine and they need it in a hurry, and I've already got the pictures done and I've already got the article written. The rest of the time they will literally hire a writer. They'll take your concept and then they'll hire a writer and a photographer to come and do the article about you. The very best way is to pick on Megan Hicks. Okay? She's already been published, folks. This girl makes her living. She doesn't work for the magazine. She's independent, and she is the one that has already been published. So it's tough to nudge yourself into a complete writing position, but there are those of us who love playing with the writing idea and dream of getting published as well. It's just tough to do. This is Lance Turner. Tammy and Craig and I were over to see Lance, and he lives here in our Utah Valley. And I've tried to get an article published about him, a very successful sculptor in California. And his brother was the inventor of Smokey Bear, and tried to do a comparative of the two talents. And I've tried 7 different times to get that story published, and I failed every time. Now, Lance is an extremely famous artistic architect and carving artist. He won 3rd in the world championship wood carving. He's taught literally hundreds and hundreds of people how to carve over his lifetime. Just passed away last year. And to do one major icon would be one thing, but to have done 2, to me, was just unbelievable. He was one of the most interesting men I have ever been around. I adored the guy. He was a little crusty at times, and he sure didn't put up with any BS. But he could teach you the real angles, the real circumstance. And when he tells you to turn up your own creativity and curiosity, you kind of have to sit back and say, well, maybe I really ought to work at that a little bit. Maybe I could push myself and my skills beyond anything I ever dreamed before. And when you begin to think on different levels, then all of a sudden you have, oh God, you have so much going for you. You have to realize this curiosity factor is what will make them pull in your direction. And you've got to try and conceive of how I can do, how can I like this curiosity excuse, and I like the thank you. It gets me through the door. It's my backdoor approach every damn time. I work like Disney said, the wheels of friendship turn on the wheel, business turns on the wheels of friendship. And I build the relationship first, and then I come back and ask for favors later. And so what kinds of letters, what kinds of inquiries do editors normally get? Do you think that editors mostly get really good comments, or do they mostly get really not so good comments? General human nature is to really, really pick on them. So I do an engraving, I do a piece of crystal, and then I send them a thank you for what they've done. Okay? I can take a bottle of wine and do just an incredibly neat, detailed engraving on it, and then send it to them as a thank you. And once that drops into place, okay, you literally can move your life toward that individual with the blaster or the engraver or the airbrush, and literally start moving yourself in the direction, do an engraved monogram sample for it. And then say, I think you did a really good job of your efforts with the magazine, and I'm trying to get ahead of your successful story. Robert got involved with us and had 5 bypass surgery not long after he got his kit. And he came in, he got his new jacket done with custom carvings, and he told me, Lou, that damn drill literally saved my life because the doctors wouldn't let me do anything else. Nothing else. So as he started to do this, he was doing scripture quotes in door panels. Now, these are panels of doors for kitchen cabinet doors that were seconds. These were ones that they wouldn't actually install. And he literally got them for free. And he started carving these little relief carved quotes in there and putting some doodads on, a little overlay, and giving them away. Then the reaction started to come a little more, so he finally said, I've decided to charge for it. And then actually got even more involved. So then he started raising his price, and he charged up to 125 bucks a piece, and he could not keep up with the business. Now that kind of a story is really a fun one for someone to want to get a hold of, okay? Last night I found this 14th century calligraphy font, and I photographed last night my block of crystal that I put this on for Jack Solomon. It's on his desk right next to his 22-pound gold clock and the other piece of crystal that I've done for him. In the middle of a $12 million worth of engraved crystal, my stuff is in the most elite position of all. And so it's not been hard for me to look for things that begin to approach the media. How are you going to get in front of the media? The people that control that are the editors and the real growing and the development of the relationship with the editor. This is the one person that can put you in or literally keep you out. And if you said if it was worth $1 million worth of free publicity to you, or even at worst one page, $80,000 worth of free publicity to get an editorial published this year, should not you find an editor and start seeing if there isn't some way in how you can begin to build a relationship with that person? And I won't mind helping you. I just don't do the work anymore. It's just been the most important thing in my entire career to get exposure, okay? We got to get in there and somehow stir things up, gang. If it's going to be same old, it'll be the same old 5 years from now. You are the one that has to figure out how to turn this on and how to stir things up and make it work, okay? Curiosity can open any door. If you'll put that little quote right there on your bathroom mirror, okay? Concentrate on it. Figure out how in the hell can I make something, a proposal, a curiosity factor to the editor of the magazine. And I wish it were easier to do than it is, but I maintain if you keep after it, one time it will open the door. Now, once you've been published, then the game gets infinitely easier. I can show an editor pretty quickly how many times I've had a story published about me and my work. So that then begins to make mine a lot easier. But the first one is the really important one to get done. It's my goal to continue to try and help you see not only how powerful it is, but to never forget the 3 words in the business of the want world, okay? The need world is location, location, location. Any business selling and trading needs, if you forget the location, location, location is the really prime mover of all that business, you're not likely to do well. If you realize that the 3 words in our world are exposure, 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 then what better can you have than a major editorial comment done about you for free in some major magazine this year? Just do not back off. Now, part of the way that can kind of help you test it a little bit, because right at the beginning of this series, I showed you Tony Schwartz and his commercially dead-on killer photograph of him and his work. And I ask you to try and figure out how to develop a professional photograph of you at work as well. What could you be doing that would show you this well? Now, also notice he's smiling and looking right at you, gang. You don't want something that you're buried down in your work. You're ignoring. You're trying to use that as your profile. It's the same thing on Google+. If your profile is hard to see, hard to realize who's there, and you're not smiling, damn it, let's get that fixed. Don't keep going forward with this deadpan deer in the headlights kind of an image and just because you've got something up. Let's try and make it appealing here. Put something up that will just begin to be deadly on Google+, okay? And keep at it until you've actually got it up and working. This has been my slide for several years, my last slide of each show, because this is the envision that I see in the future. Having a tool, having an organization, having an artistic business academy where people can actually learn these skills is what the legacy I want to leave now. And I appreciate all of your participation like crazy. It is just how, I mean, nobody came, there wouldn't be much of a show. So all of you that have persisted and playing with me on the webinars, next week, the next Wednesday session, the last one, we're going to try and see if we can't help you with the trading game. Learning how to make the shell game work for yourself, okay? It's the last best session, and I will appreciate your attendance and your participation, okay? All right, troops. I'm going to open it back up for a few minutes. We've got just a few minutes left tonight. It's warning me that my computer performance is slow, so maybe I'll hang on tonight, maybe I won't. I don't know. I hope. I pushed this show and this next week's show
Well, stop
really
broadcasting.
hard.
It'll make it better.
That will, won't it? Well, does anybody have a comment before I stop broadcasting? I don't think I could have said it any harder or any more fierce without cussing, because this and the next week are the shows that have made my whole life work, okay? Comment?
Exposure, 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 exposure.
Hey, Mel's got it, man. It's a broken record. Attaboy. You figured it
There
out.
are a lot of things.
Go ahead, Joni.
There are a lot of things that you discussed tonight that's in your books that we bought. Your the 13
The book, The Opportunity Intersection, goes right at it from a business perspective, the business plan. And it's hard for me because I have tangled with people who are teachers of university business courses. And all of them are aimed at things that people need. They don't come back and look at the want world. All they're interested in is market driven. So once you see it, then at least you've got a chance of trying to figure out how to make it work. Lance, can you see where what an article would do for your career right now, bud?
Yeah, I can. I've been over the past couple of weeks just kind of writing down, getting ideas on different magazines that are in the area. I just had a new one I'm looking into right now, just because in the last week I did set up that get together with the Safari Club International banquet.
Yeah.
So, and they have a big national magazine that is definitely for the upper crust.
Absolutely. And if you tell yourself, well, I'm just little old me, and I can't approach that, you're making a huge mistake.
Oh, no, I can approach that. I got no problem approaching that.
What they need is they need content, and they need unique content. And us that are new are actually who they're looking for the most. They know what they're going to do for your career. There's no funny games here. They know damn well they're going to light up your life. But that's okay. Let them do it. Let them, because that's how they make their money, is by giving you that exposure.
Right.
And guys what love dogs and dogs what love guys have all kinds of advantage.
Yep. When you're gone all day and you come home, you just can't get enough.
Oh, that's fun. All right. Any other comments by anybody else? Anybody want to say a word or two? Tomorrow night we do the lab. We get together and discuss more of what we presented tonight. It's more of a sit-down discussion session that I think I'm actually more proud of how it went. Thursdays have gone than I even am with Wednesday sessions, because you're getting it. Some of you are not only getting it, but you're willing to risk your neck a little and get out there and give it a try. And I just don't know how to not. There's no way without an investment and the effort to make stuff like this succeed. There just isn't. Pretty good stuff. Mel, I was going to ask you, doesn't the VA produce some kind of a monthly national world magazine about veterans? There's some mouthpiece in the VA?
Not necessarily the VA, but several different veteran groups.
Each of the branches of the military have their own.
Well, the Disabled American Veterans have one. The American Legion. The Vietnam Veterans of America has a periodical. The VFW, I believe, has one.
I just found a community on Google Plus. Had about 130,000 veterans were members of it. I clicked on it, but I can't recall right now what it is. So there is tons of potential out there, and we're finding more and more of it all the time. And this next week's show, where I try and help you, okay, we've talked all about it. Now it's the sequence of training. I think most people aren't very good at trading. When I sit down to trade with Jack Solomon, every move I make is a trade with him. He's trading with me and I'm trading with him. And the secret is to be on a balanced basis with the trading. If a person's really good at trading and they can see they can take advantage of you, it actually ruins the potential of the deal. It's no different than when I talked about James and his possibility of selling that sculpture at the Santa Fe show recently for 41,000, and he said, "Oh no, it's 4,100." Oh no, that just drives me crazy. I just have never had anything hit me so hard with the very person that needs it the most, deserves it the most, one of the best damn sculptors in the whole Navajo nation, and he just played the worst possible card at the very last second. And I'm going, oh, don't let that be you. Please get better at it. Learn how to run your passion as a business, and then you can not only enjoy it more yourself, you can reach further out into the world and help other people, which is by far the best reason to succeed. Well, thank you for participation tonight, guys. I need to run. I got about 100 more things to get done tonight, and we'll sit down and hash this over tomorrow night. Thank you, everybody. We will see you mañana.